Welcome back to another Porsche Cup lap guide. I couldn't be more excited to be at Laguna Seca this week, because this is my home track. A track where I grew up watching racing and first fell in love with motorsports. A track where I've even raced in real life. And despite this track having such unique and challenging corners, I know it better than anywhere else. So come with me on a lap, and let me show you what it takes to be fast around Laguna Seca. Coming out of the final corner and onto the front straight to start our fast lap, but the lap really begins before we even cross the start-finish line, because we're not going to be apexing this fast left-hand turn 1. Instead, I'm pointing my nose at this pole in front of us. This will set us up to move the car over to the right-hand side of the road as we come over this crest, setting ourselves up to be parallel with the white and blue curbing on the right-hand side. We're doing this to set up a straight-line braking zone for the tricky double apex and ready hairpin. It's a downhill braking zone where we're trail braking all the way through the first apex into the mid-corner. This means the car is going to be very unstable on the brakes. So we hit the brakes right about here, just before the white and blue curbing on the right ends. Again, it's not a maximal brake though, only to about 70% pressure. And I begin slowly guiding the car in towards the first apex. You can see my rears are locking up, the car is very unstable, so you have to be really gentle with how you peel off the brakes and how you slowly guide the car in towards the apex. We trail brake all the way into about here, and it's really important we end up in the middle of the road because we don't want to give up time on the entry and we want to get a really good exit out of this corner. So right about here, I get hard to about 60% throttle as soon as I can see the second apex, aiming to apex just after the red curbing on the left, and getting hard on the throttle just after the second apex. The road falls away on the exit, so we have to catch a slide, but we're immediately moving the car back to the left to set up a really challenging right-hand corner. Since we're turning all the way through this braking zone, the car will be really unstable on the brakes, so we have to be gentle with how we apply the brakes. And for whatever reason, every car always wants to understeer coming out of this corner, so we're going to get hard on the throttle to help rotate the car coming out of the corner. So we're braking right before this two-board in front of us, to about 50% pressure, being gentle with how we apply the brakes though, and how we lift off to make sure that we don't spin the car. Trail braking all the way to the apex though, aiming to apex after that red curb on the right, and getting hard on the throttle to rotate the car coming out of the corner, setting up a really fast right-hander. We begin lifting off the throttle just before the two-board, and a slight dab of the brakes just after the two-board. Again, trail braking to the apex, trying to keep up as much speed as we can though, and on the throttle before the apex, which is just after this red curb on the right. Hard on the throttle on the exit, using all the road in the exit, moving ourselves immediately over to the right to set up this fast, uphill left-hand turn. We have a ton of compression through this corner, so we can brake really late, carry a lot of trail brake into the corner, and get on the gas hard coming out of the corner. We're braking right at this three-board in front of us, down into third gear, aiming to get a late apex right about here. And as soon as we hit that apex, we are hard on the throttle, using this compression and this banking to get us through the corner, and coming into what I think is the most challenging corner on the entire track because we can't see the apex until we're just about at it. So I begin braking and slightly turning the car in just at these black marks on the curb in front of us. Slowly guiding the car in towards the apex and trail braking all the way into the apex. But since there's so much compression at the apex, we can get on the throttle really hard. Slight tick of oversteer on the exit, but we're able to correct it. Going into fifth gear and coming into the most notorious corner on the entire track, the corkscrew. But just like any corner, with the right references, we can be both consistent and fast. The first segment of this corkscrew is an uphill braking zone that goes over a crest and around a slight right-hand corner. So we're going to be initially hard on the brakes as we go up this hill, slowly peeling off the brakes though as we come over to this crest and slowly guide our car towards the right. To set up this braking zone, we have our car on the left-hand side of the track, pointing our nose at the apex off in the distance. And just after this white line on the left, we begin braking. So right about here, we begin braking. A hard brake, immediately peeling off though, and slightly guiding our car towards the right, using this curb on the right, peeling off the brakes even more to about 50% pressure, and trail braking all the way into the first apex. Now this gets really challenging, because we're not able to see the second apex until we're literally on top of it. So as soon as our tires are on this left-hand apex, I get to the throttle hard to about 60%, but not going over 60% because we're going over a crest, so we'll lose a lot of rear-end grip. And as we're turning left, I'm looking for this tree off in the distance. And as soon as our Porsche emblem aligns with this tree in front of us, I begin turning right. So I'm turning left, keeping the throttle to about 60% pressure, waiting for my nose to align with this tree in front of us. And as soon as it does, I immediately begin turning right, and the apex just magically appears in front of my right front tire. And we get to this apex, and immediately get hard on the throttle through the compression, keeping the car hard to the right because we have no time to think, we're immediately into a fast left-hand corner. I begin turning left as soon as we're under this bridge, and then slowly start to peel off the throttle as we go through this corner, keeping the car in the middle of the road, and just slightly dabbing the brakes to help bring the nose of the car into the apex. We're hard on the throttle though before we get to this red curb that's our apex. Using all the road in the exit, but hustling the car back to the left because we want to set ourselves up for straight line braking for this right-hand corner. So just at the start of this curbing on the left, it's a hard brake, but I'm immediately peeling off and using the compression to get on the gas really early, apexing at this curb on the right. Hard on the throttle, setting up the final corner on the track. We're braking just at this white line in front of us on the right. A hard brake down into second gear, and I like to touch my left side tires on this red curb in front of us. And as soon as we're past that red curb, I am hard on the throttle, using all of the road on the exit, and taking a deep breath because we just finished our final lap guide of the season. Thank you guys so much for joining me this season. I've had such a blast making these videos. I've really felt the love and support from you guys, so I appreciate that so much. I appreciate you guys so much. I hope you have a great week of racing. I hope you've had a great season of racing, and I'll see you guys next time.